What's up, y'all? We're back at it with episode 6 of the Humble Hustle Project. I cannot thank you enough for the support I've received thus far with what we're doing here as we begin to develop our tribe, our community, our collective of individuals that are kind of refusing the concept of settling, refusing average. And I cannot thank you enough as we climb this mountain together, as we create our community, and as we help lift as we climb to our own aspirational goals and being able to identify different blueprints, skill sets, experiences that we can help influence our own path to our own personal goals. So today, I wanted to talk about, as we are in the process, and you always hear the saying, trust the process. I understand that everything is going to take time. I understand that it is a process, but I want to dive into some concepts of trust and what that means in a couple different spaces. Trust when it comes to building your team. Are you on a business venture? Are you pursuing some entrepreneurial endeavors? And who is the team that you are building around you to scale your business, to scale your projects, to help you get to the finish line, or join you on the journey, join you on the process? What does trust mean in that circle? I want to talk a little bit about trust when it comes to personal relationships, to share a little bit about my experiences when it comes to how I manage personal relationships, how I manage trust when it comes to who I surround myself with. And then finally, trust in yourself. Right? This is a process as we pursue our own career paths, okay? Pursue our own dreams and goals. What does it mean to have trust in yourself to get to the finish line? What does it mean to have trust in yourself to keep hacking away at it every day? And what does it mean to have trust in yourself to get the work done? So as we dive in, I want to talk about trust when it comes to your team. Now, I just saw this video the other day, and it was with Simon Sinek, and he was talking about SEAL Team 6 and how one of the, if not the most high-performing group in the world, determines who's on their team. And obviously, I don't want to talk outside of my lane too much because I'm not in military. I'm not part. I never served. I do have a bunch of buddies that are currently going through the process or are veterans. And I love to have their input someday on the podcast as well when it comes to that space. But Simon Sinek is strictly talking about some of the key indicators of how they determine who goes to SEAL Team 6. And in this example, he draws a graph. And for those of you that don't know Simon Sinek, he's the guy you can often refer to drawing on large white pieces of paper, TED Talks, and doing big circles about your why, starting with your why when it comes to creating a business. And then the what and how will come as a byproduct of that. But when we talk about his example, when he dives into SEAL Team 6, he shares with us a graph. There's a y-axis and an x-axis vertically, okay? I can't see if you can see me in the video here, but on the y-axis, right, they do an indication of what is performance. How good are you at your job? And for SEAL Team 6, obviously, you want some high performers to get that work done. And then on the x-axis, you have the trust indicator. And I love this example that he uses because he basically says, can I trust you with my life on the vertical axis? And then can I trust you with my wife and my money? And obviously I got a little chuckle out of that, but I think it drives home, when you're developing your team, when you develop the people in your circle to join you on a mission, on a project, on a business adventure, how well can you trust them? Are they the people that when shit hits the fan, are they going to stick around and see it through, or are they going to dip and bail, right? Or when things get stressful, when things get uncertain, are they going to be the ones that kind of stick through and perform under high pressure, right? And I think it's a combination of identifying people you know, and a combination of, understanding personality traits, understanding skills, taking it upon yourself when you decide to have these people on your team that you understand their strengths and their weaknesses. And if one of their weaknesses is that you can't trust them in times that you need them, are they really going to be the ones that you want to have on your team as you begin to pursue something that's a life goal? So that's something I want to drive home when it comes to talking about your circle, your team. Who are the people that are going to be on your team? Can you identify 5 people right now that said, they'll join you right now on a new business venture only because they believe in you and they trust you to not only see it through, but they trust the relationship you have with each other. Okay. And, I think Simon Sinek drives it home is that you can be a great performer, but if I can't trust you to do right by me and for me to do right by you, I don't know if I even want you on the team. He says that on this y-axis and on this x-axis, it drops into quadrants. And he basically says the highest performer possible, but the lowest trust is what he considers a toxic leader, or what the SEAL Team 6 considers an extremely toxic leader. Somebody that will get as much possible out of a certain experience, get the work done, but will cut ties all the way through if it's a matter of getting the work done. Are you going to bring your, for example, SEAL Team 6, your team home? Or are you going to focus on getting the mission done to the point where, the guy next to you or the guy left to the right of you may not? So obviously that's an extreme example because these are the highest performers in the world. But when it comes to thinking about that, take an extreme approach to how you build your team. Do you trust them? Can you lean on them? Do they trust you? So I want you to sit on that, to think about that, and really work about, identifying people in your life that you would be willing to have on your team and their roles. On my team, on my various circles, and the people that I keep in my life, I talk to them about very specific and different things, because I don't think each one of them would be a normal conversation. I wouldn't talk about, say, relationships with all my buddies out there that are running the single life. You know what I mean? So I may not talk about business adventures with family because they may not really understand where I'm coming from with my own goals and personal ambitions. You'll have different circles and different teams for different scenarios. And so I want you to think about what those spaces look like for you. And I constantly think about it. Even as I develop the Humble Hustle Project team, there are people that I'm really excited to begin to introduce to y'all if you haven't met them already on our Clubhouse app. But these are the guys and girls that are here from the jump, that are here and see the mission, see the drive, and see their why with being a part of this team. So that's where I want to kind of halt that conversation, sit on it, come join us in Clubhouse to kind of talk about building teams, what it means to have a trustworthy team, and then I want to dive a little bit into personal relationships. This is a conversation where, man, I have a hard time with, and I look to the people in my life and how good they are at maintaining personal relationships. I look to my partner, and she is somebody that is always making sure she can stay in touch with everybody. It's partly a byproduct of her big old family, but I think I look at myself, and when it comes to trust, if you cross me in terms of trust, for a long time, I was very good at cutting you off right then and there, and never speaking to you again. Not no shade, not on something that it was out of, you did me wrong or something like that. But it could have been as simple as we went out to go grab a drink somewhere, or we went out to a social gathering, and you acted a way in which I couldn't trust the behavior and actions of getting me involved in something I personally don't jive with or I mess with. And so for me, when I think about my personal relationships, who I surround myself with in social gatherings, family gatherings, you know, can I trust the actions that you're going to take in these various spaces when potentially involving me? And you know, I think for a long time, that was something I consistently negotiated with about how close you were to me, whether it be blood, whether it be, you know, years of friendship. And then you flip the script and, you know, I was very cool with, I'm out, you know, and I think there's great benefit to that because it helps me lock in on what I'm trying to get done with my life and what I'm trying to experience. But sometimes I need to step back and check myself a little bit about what it means to cut people off, what it means to close certain doors, so certain relationships, and the impact it will not only have on you, but the other people in your circle. For the people that are very close to me, I very much tell it like it is. I almost can't even hide it because I trust them so much. And so when it comes to my personal relationships, if you are in that inner circle, if you are in the group where I can trust you with anything really, you're going to know almost everything. And I think that's something I'm really proud of when it comes to developing my personal circles. Because if you are in my circle in terms of the people that I do trust, I hope you know, but they know that I will always be there for you. If you need shelter, if you need food, if you need, you know, help in the time of need, I will be there. When it comes to trust, it drives home it's a two-way street, right? I think that for me, when it comes to personal relationships, I need to work on is maybe not be so quick to cut people off and let them, you know, try to work their way back into your life if you're open to it. I look to my family in terms of my mom and my brother about how we engage with relationships and kind of how we grew up when it comes to trust. And a lot of the way we grew up with my brother and my mom, it was just the three of us. And it wasn't always like extroverted, like we were saying I love you all the time, but it was just assumed. Like it was us three and we knew that we had to kind of make things work. Of course, we had friends, and other people that were close to us that helped our support system. But within ourselves, you know, we all kind of live our own independent lives. But I know I can trust and lean on them for anything that anything really. And I hope they know that they can lean on me in the same way. When it comes to personal relationships, you know, I think one of the nicest things when it comes to trust is that you don't really gotta speak on it. You know, if you really trust somebody, I don't need to tell you, or I don't need you to tell me that you trust me. Based on our relationship, we kind of already know where we stand. Whether we and if you're trying to contemplate it in your head, where we stand, maybe we're not quite there yet. I think there's a certain level of the way you act in your natural, authentic self with the people you trust that a lot of the trust process is assumed. You know, and this is for personal relationships. I think it might look a little bit different when we're talking about business ventures, partnering up with different companies, or just, you know, things like that. But this is personal relationships. And so this is something that I really enjoy about the personal relationship part of trust, is that it is the assumed nature of trust. uh, that's the positive side to it. There is a component to trust where I think that, once you break that, oh, is it a hill to get over? Um, I think about the burned bridges when it comes to trust in my personal relationships that have taken place in my life thus far. And rarely, extremely rarely, do I see a time where those people make their way back into my life, or do I see myself make my way back into their life. And so I don't think it's a bad thing. I think people outgrow each other. I think you just begin to go different ways. But that's something I do note when it comes to trust. Of like, once that trust is broken, it's hard, at least for me, to make an intentional effort to get back involved in that space. And I think that might be something for me to work on. I think there might be value to, have certain people back in your life that were previously. Plenty of places to grow back into a strong relationship in that manner. That's just kind of like my 2 cents when it comes to personal relationships. Now, if we're talking, you, and we're talking our individual, our personal identities, our personal experiences, the first question I want to probe when it comes to this conversation is, do you trust yourself? Do you trust yourself to get the job done? Do you believe in yourself and the spaces you show up in? Take out what people may think, or what you think people may think about being in certain rooms, being on certain projects. But at the core, do you believe that when it comes to the work you need to get done, do you believe when it comes to the rooms you take up space in, do you trust yourself in those spaces? And if not, why? Because now we're getting into the conversation of a little bit of confidence, a little bit of, agency, a little bit of where do you believe when you show up into the workspace, when you show up into your family environment, when you show up into personal relationships, do you trust the way you move? And if you don't, that's where we need to begin the conversation of how can we figure out, and how can you intentionally explore yourself to build up that agency, to build up that confidence. For me, for example, I think part of why I feel so confident in certain spaces, or so I have such a strong foundation in trusting myself, is that I feel for a long time in my personal experiences that I either always self-doubted who I was when I was trying to figure out my lane, or I always felt that people looked at me as, what does he think he's doing in this space? This was in personal relationships. It could have been as simple as, hanging out with a group of people that, oh snap, like who invited Jake? Or it could be in a career space where you're trying to navigate your role in, say, a room that has a lot of different positions, a lot of explicit hierarchy, and maybe you're the new person. So, I think that's where you begin, at least for me, when I was experiencing these different almost concepts of imposter syndrome, but also, this sensation of trust, this sensation of agency and confidence in these various spaces. Did I trust myself to navigate those spaces appropriately? If, for example, I'm hanging out with a group of people that don't actually want me there, do I trust that I'm going to experience that healthy, appropriately, reflect on it as in maybe I need to make sure I'm not in those spaces when people don't even want me there to begin with. Or maybe when it comes to my career mode, knowing that I put in the time. I've done work like this before. Looking at your own resume, personal and professional, of how to do what you're doing. You're in the room for a reason. Trust yourself and your own resume sheet to know that you can get the work done. And so we're talking, on 3 different modes today. We're talking, 1, trust in building your team, building your business, building your partners, and trust around, do you trust them to get the work done with you, for you, or mutually exchange? Okay, what can that look like? We also touched upon what can trust look like in personal relationships. I've shared a little bit with you how I approach it, but by no means do I think it's the end all be all to how you should approach personal relationships. I am not, a counselor in that space, but I think for me, this has what worked for me. I approach personal relationships pretty intentionally. I think for me, every person that I find in my life, that I don't think it was just by chance. I think there was intention behind every experience and every personal relationship that I've held on to. And then, do you trust in yourself? This is a very much inward conversation of, yes, I trust myself to get the work done, to pursue a new venture. Do you trust the feelings you're going to have, whether or not you're going to know what the end outcome of whatever you're working on may be? Do you trust in yourself to have the emotional intelligence to respond accordingly to various situations in your life? Part of that's experiential. You need to see some shit, really. But how much do you trust yourself in those spaces? So this is going to be wrapping up our conversation about trust. And, I think when it comes to trust, it's multifaceted. It looks different in different relationships, different spaces, different situations, whether it's business, personal, or an inward conversation with yourself. And so, I've been really enjoying our Clubhouse spaces. They've been reigniting my flame every time, filling my cup every time I get into those spaces to have a deep conversation with, listeners, with people on Clubhouse about some of these topics we're talking about, and hearing from their own lived experiences and their own takes on these topics. So, if you, as always, it's an open invitation. We have a new club on Clubhouse. It is the Humble Hustle Project. Feel free to look it up, follow the mods, and we will get you linked up there. And of course, we're going to be on there every Thursday night. We do have some cool projects coming up, some people I want you to meet as we begin to, trust in the process. Trust in what the Humble Hustle Project aims to bring in value to its viewers. Trust when it comes to having you as a viewer, having you as an audience, having you as a listener. And so trust that we will continue to be here. We will continue to come out with more content, and we will continue to grow. So that's it from us. I always appreciate your time. Hopefully this was a nice little spark of motivation, inspiration, and a conversation that will begin with yourself around this topic of trusting the process, specifically on what does trust mean to you. So that's it from us, y'all. We'll catch you next time. Catch you on Clubhouse. Deuces.